Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I won't begrudge us 30 seconds. Welcome, everybody, to the June the 20th meeting of the Board of Commissioners. We are going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, if you'll stand with me, and followed by the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Almighty God, we thank you for the rain and for the crops and other things that it will produce. This town, O Lord, is under your control as well. Thank you for its growth, and thank you, and may we be courageous in looking towards the future of this special place. Amen. Okay. Major part of our business is the budget public hearing. So, going to call that hearing into order.
We need to approve the agenda first, and
We could do that.
modifications.
You want to approve
there.
the agenda? All right.
We got a couple of modifications.
Okay.
You can take off item number 4, the Church Street parking lot. We're still waiting on some bids on that. And I think Hans gave you a copy of a final budget amendment, which is something we normally do at the end of the year to make sure everything balances. So we'd like to add that.
So we'll make that number 4. That's budget amendment, what is it, number? 9, okay. All right. Any other changes to the agenda? If not, is there a motion that we approve the agenda?
I make the motion that we approve the agenda.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. It is so ordered. Okay. So now that we have an agenda, the first item is a public hearing for the next fiscal year's public budget.
Okay, we have duly advertised the budget. Is this?
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to hit some of the specifics of the budget. The FY 23-24 general fund is at $7,060,000 and $7,060,129. Your FY 22-23 budget, when it was adopted, was at $6,501,512. So this budget represents an increase of $558,617 from your prior year's budget, which is about an 8.59% increase. Your current budget that ends next Friday is currently at $7,470,000. So it's about $400,000 more right now than the proposed budget for the next fiscal year. Your tax rate remains at 49 cents under the proposed budget. Your current assessed valuation between Harnett and Wake County is $682,035,441. Your assessed valuation last year, when you adopted the budget, was $635 $635,738,220, which is a total increase of $46,297,221, which is about a 7.28% increase in the values of your property in town. A 1 cent on the tax rate generates $68,203. So for each penny, you get $68,203 on real property. That doesn't count the tax on cars and trucks. That's just for the real property.
Real property.
Some of the significant items in the budget, there is funds set aside for a proposed 4% cost of living adjustment. We have $28,000 set aside for the 2023 board elections. That's probably double what you paid in the last election, but their costs have gone up, and basically we had to pay whatever they charge us for the election. So
that's what the county is charging us to do the election.
this
Okay.
between Wake, and Harnett, you'll pay about $14,000 to Wake and about $14,000 to Harnett. There is $300,000 in the budget for the proposed downtown farmers market. We've got $14,000 in the budget for the NC Fellas intern, which would start sometime in August. We have 2 new officers budgeted, effective April the 1st of 2024. We still currently have some vacancies, so we felt like we could wait on those until April of next year. We have a second school resource officer in the budget, and 100% of that cost will be paid by the charter school, so that won't cost the town anything. We have $305,000 in the budget for the second parking lot, which we're taking bids on right now. We got $74,000 in the budget to replace the south playground equipment. We did the larger playground this year, and what is proposed is to replace the smaller one in next year's budget. That's $74,000. Let's see, library contribution is going from $167,331 to $83,417, and in the 24-25 budget that goes to zero. We have $167,734 contribution towards the town share of the Junie Road sidewalk. So when that project starts construction, we should have all of our contribution already budgeted. And that sort of sums up the general fund. The other major fund is your water and sewer fund. The proposed total for FY 23-24 is $4,613,243. Your budget last year was $3,372,205. That's a difference of $1,241,038, which is about a 36.8% increase. The budget does propose a 25% rate increase for both water and sewer. That generates about $700,000, and of that $700,000, in the budget we set aside $402,000 for future debt service costs. You're gonna have to borrow money for these projects you got ongoing.
But isn't that because the county cost is going up?
We budgeted that cost
The
at about
25%.
$250,000. There's a 15 and something percent increase on water, and almost a 20% increase on sewer. In our budget, we estimated those costs would cost us about $220,000. $5,000 more. So part of that $700,000 covers that cost, and then as I mentioned, we've got the $400,000 set aside there. We do have some other options for you. We'll discuss later as you get into your budget discussion. If you went with a 12.5% increase, of course that generates about $350,000, which means you got to cut $350,000 out of the proposed budget. So that only leaves you about $52,000 for the future debt service, and I'll explain that later and everything. We do have $345,000 that were taken from the system development fees into the water and sewer fund, and that covers some of the capital projects Jimmy has listed in that budget for a sewer line replacement and some other items. As I mentioned, Pitt County's raising our water rates 15.
You don't mean Pitt County?
I'm sorry.
Harnett County.
Where are you?
I'm going to tell you some days I'm not sure. Harnett County's raising our water rates 15.39%. And we budgeted an additional $120,000 for that cost. That also includes the additional cost of additional customers. We have, in the budget, we estimated about 300 new customers next year. So, so that covers Harnett County's increase, but it also covers the cost of the water for additional customers. The bulk sewer rate is going up 19.5%, and we budgeted an additional $125,000 for that cost. So as you can see, a good portion of the $700,000 goes towards those additional costs for water and sewer. One other thing you got to consider is our chemical costs are going up, our electric costs are going up, the cost of your staff is going up, just purchasing meters and pipes and manholes and all those things, their costs have gone up significantly in the past couple of years. So that basically covers all those additional costs. And as I mentioned, this is all based on an estimate of about 300 new homes next year. I think just this prior year we had about 400. So we were being a little conservative on the number, but that sort of sums up your two major budgets. If it's okay, Mayor, we'll open it up for public comment now, if that's
okay. All right. The hearing's open for public comment. When you come forward, if you'll state your name and address and tell us what you want us to know.
My name is Michael Hill, 48 South Park Street. I keep hearing all this here, increase. People, we cannot keep, I don't know, maybe the ones up there is making so much money and everything, y'all can keep living, but it's getting to the point that people that's out here that's retired, we can't keep paying all this money. We digging our own hole in this town. 5% raise, 10% raise, $1 million for a town hall you didn't build. Come on, let's get real. We need to cut that budget down. Harnett County is socking it to us now with their water bill. I don't know how you're gonna hear something from that if I have to get out there and rustle up a group of people to come up here at the next meeting. That's absolutely ridiculous. I'll be out there voting for it. Everybody that's on the Harnett County board next time around. $225,000 for the piece of land over here to put the police department. It was the police department that told y'all that we'd rather have a 5% raise than have the new town hall. Does this town work for the police department. They're the biggest part of the budget. I just think we need to cut some of this here fat off the budget. I don't know where the people are. They're definitely not here. Somebody needs to say something. When I was set up there, sometimes I went along with the crowd. You need to quit going along with the crowd. The people coming out of the north, out of the west, and everything, they can afford it. I guess they can because they're not up here. But the people that grew up in the state of North Carolina and retired here, we can't keep tolerating all this increase. So I'm asking y'all to turn the budget down and cut the fat off of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Someone else? Anybody else? Mr. Gregory.
Donald Gregory, 62 East McIver Street. I too would like to see the budget trim some. I understand everything's going up. We got to go up some. I think 25% on our water bill is a big increase, a drastic increase. You take someone like, I mean, I can afford it. I know they lie about it, but a lot of people can't. Everybody don't. It's not as blessed as I am, you know. And 25% on a $100 light bill kills a lot of people, you know. And so, but I heard something about some new infrastructure, some new water lines replaced. I would like to see that done because I've been begging for it for probably 25 years, and very, very, very little has been done about it. So I know we've got to put some money back in the town that needs to be spent, you know, well. I don't know how many years it's been since we've had any major lines put in, but it's been a long time. My water pressure, it's okay. It's not good. It's not great, but we make do. But I know in this town there's a lot of leaking lines about where we built stuff and done stuff. I know they've come up with a lot of this line's leaking. I'm really cautious of it. But we got to do something. We got to keep it affordable for people that's already here. Like he said, a lot of people coming from up north and sold big property, and they can afford these things. But you know, all of our property taxes went up on us. You know, that's a big hit for us. And same way, you know, a lot of the people here, we have a lot of elderly people here. I got a lot of friends. I'm elderly, you know, but a lot of people just can't afford all these hits. And we got to really consider what you're doing. And each time you give a raise, or and everybody, you know, needs a raise, I'm sure. But the more we spend, the more we tax, the more everything goes up, and it causes something else to go up in price. So, but I sure would like to see some new water lines and stuff replaced. Thank you.
If we don't replace them, we're going to get a lot of sprinkle leaks all over the place. Yes.
Let me say one other thing.
Yes, sir.
20 years ago, if the board would have spent the money I asked to replace some lines, get some things in place to start doing so many a year, we wouldn't be in the position we're in right now. The pipe probably cost 3 times what it did just a year or two ago. You know, that's a big deal. In our developments, the biggest cost we got right now is the price of pipe. That's unbelievable what it's costing. And so it's a shame. I think I've spoken to every one of you about this before on the street or wherever. But we got this. You got to put something in place where you do a little bit every year, somehow or another, and quit just kicking the can down the road. Now, some of the previous boards told me that's what was going on. We just kick it on down the road, let the next man worry about it. But now we're in trouble.
Yeah.
So,
Fortunately, we got a grant for the state that is enabling us to do this, so we're really pleased with that. Someone else. Okay. Anybody else? Last call. Okay. The contributions from the audience. What about from commissioners? Any comments?
Mr. Mayor, I had to update it today, so I called Hans, I think it was last week or week before, and was talking to him about the water increase. Spoke with the county commissioner, and to get the numbers exactly correct, the county is going up 15.3% on the water and 16.9.
No,
19.5. 19.5.
That's what he just said. Yes.
which is a total of 35%.
35% on the sewer. But I asked Hans, instead of just throwing big numbers out here, to get me some information showing how much profit we're making right now off our water and sewer bill. If, for example, if we're making 8%, 6%, or 0%, and the numbers that you gave us, Mr. Manager, was 25%, 12%, and 6.2%, do we have to go that high? It depends on what we're making off of it. I agree with I know Mr. Coates, Commissioner Coates, don't think we should be making profit off water, and I agree. We got people in this town that can barely survive. Hans, did you get that information?
Well, I assessed it. I don't have any information to provide, but I did look at.
You don't have any to provide?
If you look at next year's budget, if you do, now if you'll turn over to this piece of paper I gave you. If you do a 0% increase, we got to cut the water and sewer budget by $298,000. So as the budget, is proposed without a rate increase, you're $298,000 in the hole. You're not making profit when you're $298,000 in the hole. If you did a 6.25% increase, then you're about $123,000 in the hole as the budget is proposed. And you have zero money in your future capital reserve fund. So under option D, you got to cut your budget $298,000. You have zero money in a future capital reserve fund. Under option C, you've got to cut your budget $123,000, and again, you have zero money in a future capital reserve fund. I'm under option B, which is sort of halfway, which would be a 12.5% rate increase. You would have about $52,000 left over that you could put in a future capital reserve fund. And if you look under option B, the average customer or the customer, which is normally the senior citizen that uses his 2,000 gallons or less, their bill would go up about $4.55 a month. For a customer that uses 5,000 gallons, which is normally a family of 3 or 4, their their bill would go up $10.15 a month.
Which is about half the 25% would do. Well, since it's half that, yes.
Yeah. And if you look on the right, your 500,000 gallon water tank that is currently under design, you've got $2,000,000 $456,250 from the state. Our current cost estimate, which is several months old already, is at $3,313,500. So you got a shortfall of about $857,000 on the tank. There's been a lot of discussion about the difference between a pedestal tank and a four-legged tank. The major cost driver on a tank is that you've only got 4 or 5 companies in the nation that build tanks. If they're busy, they got a lot of projects out there, you're going to get a high price. If they're hungry, then if they need work, you're going to get a significantly lower price. If you give them more time, you'll get a better price. If you shorten up their time frame for construction, you're going to get a significantly higher cost. So it's hard to, these are the engineer's best estimates right now based on what he knows. Your core water system replacement project, which would replace all the old lines in the older section of town, you got $4,250,000 from the state. Your current cost estimate is $5,249,815. So based on the current cost estimate, you're short $999,000. You're purchasing additional capacity from the Harnett County sewer plant. They're getting ready to expand. You're buying a portion of that capacity. Back at the first of the year, our cost estimate for that additional capacity was $8,700,000. As of this month, their cost estimate has gone up an additional $1,662,500 based on their best estimates at this particular moment in time. You got $6.118 million from the state, so that leaves you about $4.2 million short on that project. When you add all those up, based on your current best estimates right now, you're about $6.1 million short. If you went and borrowed all that money on a 40-year note, your debt service each year would be about $259,000. You currently said you're going to use all of your current funds that you have from what they call ARPA, the ARP funds, the American Recovery plans. You got just over $1.7 million. So if you use that to reduce that $6 million, your estimated shortfall is about $4.4 million. That same loan, if you had to borrow all of that money, would be about $186,000 a year. That's why we were trying to set aside some funds in the capital reserve fund to help offset those payments when they come due. You probably won't need it in the 23-24 budget because you won't file applications until this fall. Your construction won't happen until the following year. But you will have to get interim financing for those projects. USDA used to pay you up front, now they make you, finance it on your own, and then when the project's finished, they'll give you their funds and everything. So, probably the 24-25 budget year, you're going to start making payments. It should be mostly interest on that. So, you can get by without the 25% increase this year. The 12.5%, I think, is needed to help cover the additional costs and the increases from the county. And it does set aside a small amount of funds towards that future debt service cost. But no increase, we got to cut the water and sewer fund budget. So
Mr. Manager, let me ask you a question, and I guess a good example is tonight. You ask for something, you don't get it. I have reached out to people, and they have told me that you got towns like Dunn and other towns, Holly Springs, whatever, getting $30 million grants. And I tell me if I'm wrong, we asked for a grant for the farmers market. I mean, what's more important? Who's writing grants for us? I mean, are we pursuing grants to help cover some of this?
I know we asked our members of the General Assembly for several $1 million this year, and it was all focused on, our water and sewer.
Because from what I hear, the money's there. We just gotta ask for it.
Our senator is saying that there may not be a real surplus.
Keep in mind, just in the last year, you got $10 million from them. So when you go back and ask for more, sometimes they're not willing to give you more when you go back the second time. I mean, USDA may have grant funds. I've got a phone call scheduled with them Thursday. They normally have grant and loan funds. I'll find out Thursday. We can go ask the state for additional funds. They've got funds, but this, $10 million, that's where it came from. I mean, yeah, so I go back and ask for more. They may say, well, we just gave you $10 million last year. Why are you asking for more?
The other thing, I kind of wanted to stop you when you was getting to it, but you kept going, the water tank. Mm-hmm. Now, I know Mr. Coates and we asked last time, okay, what about if we change our mind on it? And you said we would lose around $85,000 because we have already bored. Well, $85,000 is a heck of a lot less than $857,000. But can you tell us today what it would cost if we lose $85,000, but we're looking at $857,000 negative? What would it cost us if we went from the pedestal to the four-leg?
You won't ever know till you take bids.
I mean, is it a lot of money, you think?
Again, I think it depends on when you take bids, who bids it. Are the tank contractors busy? Are they hungry? Do they want more work, or they got all the work they can do right now? If they do, you're gonna pay a higher price. You will never know what that cost difference is because you're not bidding both style tanks. And you don't want to design both style tanks because you got all those engineering costs, soil borings, and there's a lot that goes into it.
It's a little bit different.
Never know what the exact difference is.
It's a little different time, but the existing tank, pedestal tank, came in $400,000 under the estimate. But I don't know if that would happen now.
Well,
you switched and you had them come back and do the soil borings again for the four-legged tank, and you designed that and you took bids on that. You still aren't going to know what the difference was because you don't, because you're not getting bids on the pedestal tank again.
And we've got to use
a crapshoot whichever way you go. I mean, you don't really know. You'll never know what that
yeah. The only thing that the toughest part about this job to me, and I'm just going to shoot straight with you, is, and you read it in the papers, you read it on the Daily Record, you hear it on the Facebook, you see all the social media, how the town's wasted money. The sad part about it is, and this happened way before you got here, if the town, there's so much stuff that goes on in these boardrooms in closed session that the town don't know about, where there's been millions of dollars wasted that the town can't know about. But we get beat down because of something that y'all know about. Yeah. And then when we asked you, like Commissioner Coates and I asked you about this changing the water tower, we still ain't got a straight answer. We don't know.
Yeah, I can't give you one.
I think you just insinuated around 400,000, but we don't know for sure.
Well, that was the old tank.
That's a lot of money.
I think what he was saying, your estimate for that tank you just built north of town was on 1.2 million.
And it came in at
It came in
800,000.
Like $800-some-thousand. So that tank
But this
actually
may
came
not
in
be the
less.
same kind of time as that. So
Because all you can base it on, Tom, is your engineer's best estimate at this given point in time. And you take bids, it may be less, it may be double what the engineer estimated.
this state money also has to be spent by a certain time. So we're kind of running out of time.
You know, it's just aggravating to me that we get letters from certain people in positions in this county telling us, when is it going to stop? When are you going to keep punishing everybody? Well, sir, you're the one that's punishing us. You're the one that's raising the rates. You know, people in the public don't see that.
The
We
county
see
person, okay.
Huh?
The county person. It's not him.
it. No, it's coming from the county. Letters telling us, when is it going to stop? When are y'all going to quit doing increases? Well, sir, y'all the one that's doing it to us. We got to cover the bill. My biggest question to Hans was, if we're making profit, what are we making profit off of now? You know, and do we really have to even go 6.25%? You know, you jump from 6.25 to 12.5. I mean, and you came out at 25. I mean, I agree with both people. There's a lot of people here that can't afford that. And even now, I don't have a straight answer. Don't know.
Well, I'm going to help you out there, Junior, too, because we're all ready to chime in and talk. Absolutely. Nobody in this town can afford that kind of water increase, and we've got to find another answer. I mean, I don't think anybody up here is in disagreement of that, and please understand, we're going to work on this. This is not going to happen. People cannot afford that. Now, I hear you, Richard, when you say breaking even is one thing, and we do have to pass some of the cost on that the county has given us. We cannot just foot the bill, understanding where this motivation is coming from. The county started this, and we've got to pay them what they are providing for us. But I'm hearing what Junior is saying, and I'm saying we can't pay them any more than that. I hear you when you say, if we don't make a little bit off of this, we're never going to fix a pipe that's broken out there on that street either. So we need a little bit of extra, but you can't do it all in 1 year at one time. And these people, the citizens of this town and the elderly that are relying upon Social Security checks and a fixed income just cannot take this increase. And you're right. We have got to do something. Now, what the option is, you've listed here for us. I don't think any of us would say a zero increase is practical. In life, it's not. That everything is going up in cost. But as Junior said, we're certainly not in the ballpark of making money off of water and sewer. And that little bit of extra is going to help to fix the pipes, hopefully, as we're doing it at the same time. But I will never vote for a 25% increase on water and sewer. So we got to find another option here.
Well, zero's too little. And I don't know, 6.25 puts us in the hole, right?
Yeah, you're in the hole. Well, you'd have to cut about $123,000.
Okay, and I can do that right now. I can do that right now. I don't want to see a person pay any more money. I love the idea of a farmer's market. It's got to go. The benefits of a lovely idea, and I know it's increasing the value of our town and giving us more luring opportunities for people that want to move here. But we cannot, I can't in right conscience build that. I mean, that's about the first thing that jumped in my head right there. There are others here I haven't gotten to, but if that's what we've got to cut to go to a little increase and still break even, and put, I'm all about it. And I know that the budget that you proposed that might cost the farmers market is probably, as you said, much higher than it would be. Well, we got to take care of the water issue first before. So that would be, in my mind, right now, one mark off the list.
What, Alan?
Keep in mind, though, now, the farmer's market is a general fund.
That's what I was going to ask.
It stays in the general.
That doesn't help any.
Yeah, it doesn't help any.
with the water and sewer.
Well, we got some other things here to talk about, and I don't know what comes out of what fund, and I apologize that I should know better, but there's got to be some way here that we can find that money to balance this out.
Mr. Manager, the final report that Hans gave us tonight, the one here. Now, I see green arrows and I see red arrows. Is this the report that was given to us to review? Or have you made any changes since the report that we had to study and go by? Because it shows changes here.
That's true. Yeah, what you're looking at right there is the budget amendment.
Final, but there has been changes.
Yes.
Well, can I ask you a question? How do you expect us to vote on this tonight when you hand it to us tonight with all these changes? I mean, I'm just asking. And I know we're pushing for time, crucial time, but there's a lot of changes here. And I guess you guys are looking at it, all these red and green arrows. There's a lot more green going up than it is going down. And,
That's a good sign.
Yeah, but it's cost increase.
No, that's, well, it's just more capturing, it's just bringing to reality what has taken place as far as revenues that have been received, and so increasing the level of spending. So you're seeing the increase in revenue, or saying, hey, we're going to increase the budget, the revenue amount, then we're going to increase spending.
But it's projected revenue, correct? Some of it's projected?
That's actual.
Actual.
Keep in mind now, that's only amending the budget that ends next Friday. It has
Right.
nothing to do with the budget you're looking at here.
Okay.
That's your current budget that ends Friday on the
So,
30th.
Mr. Hicks, question for you. We were just talking about this. All of the new, the truck, the lawnmower and everything, that comes out of what fund?
Right in the water and sewer fund, if you'll turn over on this page I gave you. The dump truck, 1/3 of that, if you look at the bottom of the page, 1/3 of that cost comes out of the water department.
Right.
An additional third comes out of the sewer department. And the tractor and mower, 1/3 of it comes out of the sewer department. So, if you add all three of those together, that's $130,000.
Okay. I just wanted you to clarify that. Thank you.
Which doesn't catch us up on the other.
Yep.
What if we did something like option B2, which is like a 12% increase, which is a flat without any extra, and then if mid-year things look better, we can modify that. And that would bring the cost to the customer down to some extent.
Probably do about 10%.
10? Okay. That's even better.
$50,000 we were setting aside for the future capital reserve.
Well, that's what I was.
So if you do 10%, you basically got it balanced.
Sounds like a good compromise to me, because we'll have more growth next year, probably, that we can help fix this.
Just for people that are listening and looking, so when we were looking at a 12%,
12 and a half.
or 12.5, that was an increase in water by $2.48. Is that correct? Am I reading it right?
Yes, yes.
And
Sewer would be
$2.05.
205. And that's sitting at a 12.5% increase. So that was like a $4.53
5 cents, I believe.
up in the bill. And you're saying 10 would lower that some. Like I said, if the county is going to charge us more, we're going to have to raise something. But we've got to be sensible and reasonable about what people can afford. And I know that sounds like a little amount of money, but it is not to someone who's living on a Social Security and a pension check and is budgeted every dime they have.
Every little bit helps.
But
It does.
The 10% would just basically pass on the county increases, right?
Would that kind of be covering the county?
We don't know. They didn't give us, we really don't know because we didn't get what we asked for. I don't know what we're making now off the water.
But what I'm saying is we know
You
that
don't
they
know
have,
till the end of the year till you do your audit.
but we definitely
What your
know.
revenues were and what your expenditures were, and the amount left over is your profit for the.
We know for a fact that the county went up on the water by 15.39%, and they went up 19.57 on the sewer. That is a total increase of 35% from the county.
Is it partially paying for the new plant, you think?
I think that's just their overall cost increases over the years. They haven't raised you, I think,
No, I kept wondering where they're going to get the money to build that new plant with anyway. So
Yeah, they just raised everything else.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, guys. The money that, when we raised everybody's property value, or the state, county, whoever did it, we kept ours, or what is it, around 40, 41%?
We went down 4 cents, yeah.
So where were we now?
49%.
What,
At
49?
49 cents.
49 cents.
Yeah, we went from
54 to
54
54 to 49.
And where does that money go to?
Don, that's what covers your general fund expenses.
Okay, and we have a surplus in the general fund?
You do, but you budgeted more than you took in this year, so you're going to use a portion of your fund balance.
So there's nothing we can do with that rate?
Stormwater project, and you budgeted some other things.
There's nothing the town can do with that rate to offset some of this other stuff to relieve some of the pressure on the people, is what I guess I'm getting at.
You can't do it in the water and sewer fund because those are general fund expenditures and revenues.
So you can't transfer from general fund to sewer fund?
You are doing that somewhat now because your public works employees.
You're splitting cost, yeah.
It's paid for out of the general fund, a third of it's paid out of the water fund, and a third of it's paid out of the sewer funds.
The money that we got, it didn't, to correct me if I'm wrong, didn't we get a grant for the farmer's market?
No, I'm not aware of one.
We did not.
No.
Okay. Okay. There's nothing we can do with the, that 40-some% to relieve some pressure off people.
On which 40% though?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me ask you this though.
Depends on what you cut out of the general fund. If you don't want to build the farmer's market, that's $300,000. Each penny raises $68,000. So that's what, about 4 cents there. But
No, I understand what you're saying. Though that's not going to help us one bit fix this water situation.
you just cutting yourself in the foot.
All right. Well, you just mentioned something else there, which we'll get on to here in a little bit later. So what you're telling me, though, part of the money that goes into this is being calculated by salaries. In other words, in those departments. Yes. I guess my question is, I'll just flat out do it right now.
Jimmy's got 13 people on staff. 12 of those people are split 1/3 general fund, 1/3 water fund, and 1/3 sewer fund.
Okay.
So they're paying, the water and sewer funds paying 66% of the costs of Jimmy's staff, which they should pay because they're fixing water lines, and
Oh, yes.
sewer lines, and
Yeah. I'm not talking about water and sewer department as an individual department. I'm just going to move on now, since this is going to calculate, sounds to me like a little bit more money back into this water fund. I am not in favor of a 4% increase to employees. Again, I've said it before, that is a huge cost of living increase. And we did just give all across the board, basically, except for about 6 or 8 employees who had not been with us a year. We gave a 12% increase just within the last 6 months. So to me, 4% increase sounds very high. And I want to say that I just read in the paper that Dunn only did a 1.5%. Now, I'm not saying that's good. I'm just saying I think this would be my 4th budget here, and we've never given that kind of cost of living increase. And in the world that I was in before working in, we never got that per year. I know you have based it according to what the national stats are. But there again, there's another place that I'm not happy. And I know why we did the 12% was to get us up in the brackets of higher, just bring us on up to where we should be. Or get closer to keeping people to want to stay here to work. But when I verse that kind of increase again against a water situation that I know people just can't afford, I'm looking to find some money anywhere that we can. And it looks like to me it's very limited in the water sewer to budget. And I'm not saying don't give a cost of living increase to water and sewer. I'm saying across the board, I think the 4% increase is too high. So that will save us another dime or two.
The 4% cost to the water and sewer fund is about $21,000. So you can figure about $5,200 for each 1%. That's the cost only in the water and sewer funds. So if you went with 2, that would save you, $10,500 basically.
Do you have any other thoughts then as interim town manager as to how we can work this water sewer situation? I mean, the things obviously that I'm coming up with are not going to give us the money from the right department to send it where we need to send it. So do you have any other thoughts as to how we can make up some of that difference? I mean, what did we say again a while ago? Just a 10% is going to increase the bill by, what did we say, $5.50?
About $4 a month
okay.
For the customer that uses under 2,000 gallons.
Well,
or the minimum.
What about the farmer's market money?
Again, that's in the general fund, so you need to keep that separate from the water and sewer.
Understand. Could you adjust?
If you cut things in the general fund, you could make adjustments on your tax rate if you wanted to, or you could make other adjustments. You could set it aside for your future debt service payment on the police station or the town hall, whatever you decide to do. You could use as a match if you wanted to start construction of a portion of the park project. You could take $500,000 of that money, use it as a match for a Partif grant, which would be $500,000, and all of a sudden you got, a $1 million project for the park to start. That $500,000 you could probably get because they're.
Got a question for you. Are we members of the Source Wells company or whatever it is? I know they do with they do lease contracts for street sweepers, all kinds of other equipment.
I'm not aware. You can go to the bank and borrow money on huge pieces of equipment at
right
2.5%.
Right.
So.
But if we're going to have to be forking out money, I mean, I know it's only $130,000, but if we could lease for a year to get things better under control, so we could bring the water down to 10%.
Well,
I mean, I'm just trying to think of anything that we can And I know that Source Wells, they do lease contracts, because I've talked to other municipalities. That might be something to look into, instead of just buying a new, for the water and sewer department, to replace the dump truck. Some of these other, the tractor and all that. I mean, I know it only comes up to 130,000, but if we could lease it and maybe, you know, of course, I don't know how much it would be a year to lease or to contract it with another company. You know, I mean, I'm trying just to find where we can get some money generated to offset this, because we need to trim the fat big time with this budget.
So I would recommend, if you're gonna purchase that piece of equipment instead of leasing it from somebody, is to go to the bank, do a 59-month lease purchase of the piece of equipment, and instead of paying cash for it all up front, you split it into 5 annual payments. So you could probably buy both pieces of equipment, and the lease purchase cost would probably be about $25,000 a year.
Okay.
Well,
Okay, so where else can we cut?
I hate to see you lease something and you don't own it at the end, or you pay
Right,
for
right.
it for a year and you know, you don't have anything at the end.
Okay, so do you think we ought to stay with 10% and we would be fine?
that's flat.
Or,
Yeah.
Well, and also remember that our finance people are conservative in their estimates. Hans is already saying that we've got more money at the end of this year than we anticipated, so
Right.
we'll have more money at the end of next year since we're doing conservative, projections, and we ought to do conservative because things go up and down. But there's also a good chance that we'll have more money in the till at the end of the year.
I hear you. I'm not one to spend money that I don't know that I have. I don't like saying, "Oh, but I'm going to make this amount of money."
right.
I just can't do business that way. I got to know where I'm spending it and what it's going to cost me. But certainly, the 10%. I mean, let's face it. The county has raised us 35%. We can't sit here and not raise it at all. I understand that, but
We can make 10% work if that's where you want to go with it.
Do y'all want to make it 10% and move on? Because at 10%,
I'm confused here. And I know you probably said it 3 or 4 times, but if you look on this sheet here, guys, at 25%, it's showing that we would generate $201,000 for future debt reserve. That means we're making $200,000 off of it. If you look down to option C at 6.25 increase in water and sewer rates, we generate $100,500 for future debt increase.
Look at this sheet, Junior. My numbers were wrong on that sheet.
Started
sent
saying,
you
I thought-
Friday. I revised it. I tried to make it too simple when I got home. I kept thinking, I don't think I did that right. So
I think you say at the 6.25, you said we're going to be at a loss of $123,000.
right.
The 10% is about flat.
yeah, 10% gets you. You have no future money for the capital reserve, but you're meeting all your budget obligations.
Richard, I don't mean to keep prodding at you, but
That's right.
how do you know that when you just said a while ago you don't know until the end of the year when you look at this number and that number? How do you know that we're not making money? I mean, what I requested, again, I'll repeat, I didn't get.
Yeah.
But how do you come up with these numbers if we don't know?
All I can give you is our best guess.
The budget is a
And we do
projection.
that,
Yeah, that's all it is.
Based on what we took in the past, based on the number of customers we got, the number of new customers we think we're going to add. I mean, it takes a lot of calculations, but still, it is only our best estimate.
Yeah.
I mean, you're estimating today what you're going to spend for the entire next year. You can't even do that at your house. I mean, it's just our best guess, and we're trying to, guess what the amount of money we're going to bring in for an entire year, and the amount of money it's gonna cost to run this operation.
Right.
Okay.
for
So,
entirety. All I can do is
so
give
Mr.
you
Mayor
this
and Mr. Manager, just say, for example, we went 10%. So we're putting a little hurt on the people. Now let's look at what we've been talking about the other thing. By the, what is it, 40 what percent? 49?
49.
49% value went up. How does that hurt us or affect us if we decide we want to bring that down to relieve some stress and pressure off people? And Andrew.
All right, let me give you some examples. Now, if you'll turn back over to this page. Now, we did away with the HR position. So that saves you $98,000. Now, that represents about 1.5 cents on your tax rate. Now, if you don't want to do the farmer's market, you got $300,000 in there. And again, that could be used to reduce your tax rate. You can set it aside for the future debt service on your police station, the town hall, the park, if you decide to move forward on those projects.
I personally feel like it's better to find the money internally within the budget than changing the tax rate, because arguing to increase the tax rate is a much harder job than finding some extra money.
I think with that 49 cents you've got right now should carry you all the way through to the next reevaluation, which would be
7 years.
years from
Yep.
now. That 49-cent tax rate with your growth should hold you for the next
I
7
agree.
years.
They're supposed to do it maybe 4 or 5 years, but at most 7 years, and it just hadn't been done for a while. So it was a bigger increase
State law
than
says
normal.
8 years. You have to do it every 8 years.
Right.
A lot of towns and counties have gone every 4 years, and some are even doing it every year. They've got their own staff and they're doing it in-house.
Mr. Mayor and Mr. Manager, this is what I would like to see happen. I'm just one person on this board. I would like, and I know I've seen some people shaking their heads when we talked about doing away with the farmer's market. I would love to see the farmer's market here. I want to build a new police department. I want to build a new town hall. And I would like to be able to relook at this water tower. How much money could we save by doing that, regardless of what department it comes out of? So with your expertise, how can we do all of it? What do we need to do? But I know Mike mentioned something about we need to trim the fat, and that's what we've all been talking about. So how do we do it all?
If you leave your general fund as it is, you got $300,000 in there for the parking lot. You've got $174,000 for your share of the Jenny Road sidewalk project, and you got $300,000, set aside for the farmer's market. Now, if you do all those this year and pay for it out of this year's budget, the 24-25 budget, you've got about $700,000 that you can use for your debt service for the police station, the town hall, the park, or whatever you want to move forward on, our community center or whatever. And what I tried to do is to get you things that you could do this year.
Mm-hmm.
Those funds, once you complete them, when you roll into the next budget year, you've got $600,000 or $700,000 to cover future debt service cost.
It's like
And
buying a
you've
car.
already heard, the last cost estimate for town hall was like $18 million. We've already heard from, at least 2 or 3 different contractors. They can build us what we need for much, much, much less than what that cost was going to be.
And Mr.
The
Manager,
police department, I'd be surprised if you have, $4 million in it total.
Mr. Manager, I've heard you say it before. If you don't mind saying it publicly, 18 million is where we stopped it at, right? Okay. Now, you've heard tonight, and I've heard it every day, that we wasted $1 million. Did we waste $1 million? Or were we going to get ourselves in a lot of trouble? Were we fed the information that we should have been fed? Were we led down the right path?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Don't you deep
But
down
what
inside
you
think the
paid
board
for-
here did the right thing by stopping it?
Yeah. What you paid for, you basically can't use moving forward, so you're starting over.
Well, you're saying that the plans and all aren't usable
Right.
on another building, yes.
And your sketch plans you can use, I mean, you know what size rooms and the number of rooms and the type of rooms and stuff you need, but the actual construction drawings and the footings and the concrete and the exteriors and all that, I mean, you know, it's not usable anymore. Yeah.
To some extent.
And see, you used a method that's fairly new. It is not used very often. I mean, that one, yeah, I think y'all were led down that path, but I wouldn't, you know, my personal opinion is that was probably not the best method of trying to build a town hall. Design build, I think, is either, you know, is better, or there's, you know, you hire an architect, they design it, and you put it out for public bid.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
y'all want to do 10%?
I'm in favor of
That's
that.
about less than $5.
If your customer that uses less than 2,000 gallons, their cost will be about $4.
I don't think we can afford to get, you know, further behind. 10% is basically breaking even.
Well, we have to break even, and I don't know where else to go. I feel good that we've come from 25% down to 10, but there's no other way to pay the county the money we owe them. I don't see. I've not heard another option here. I'd love to, but I haven't.
Kaz, you
So
okay
you
with
can cut capital costs, but if you look at the dump truck Jimmy was asking for, he used it this past week, and it had to be towed away because it's, you know, it's 20-some years old. And when it got ready to leave the job site, it didn't work.
Okay, and what you're saying too is the little bit of when we get to discussing salary increase is not going to make an effect to this ratio right here either.
It would be very nominal.
Okay. And I don't think I'm the only one sitting up here that's going to feel that way about that too.
Okay, so if we were to do, we're not going to do the 4% across the board. The ones that didn't get a pay increase,
Didn't they all
Oh, that's
get a pay?
different.
could we give them the 4%?
And
We
then
have two
That
people
might work.
that did not get the 12%. That 12% is already included in the budget.
A minute. Repeat that again, because
Say
that
that
didn't sink
again.
Two
in.
people that did not get the pay increase the first of the year.
Mm-hmm. Only two.
Starting July the 1st, only those two people would get that same salary increase.
So two will get the 12%?
Yes.
and then everybody else will get the standard figure, whatever that is.
Or two.
Either 4 or 2 or whatever you want to do, or 3.
Okay, so that's an easy fix.
Yeah, I mean,
I understood y'all to say, you know, in next year's budget, take care of the two people that we didn't.
oh, well, yes, it was definitely, we do need to
Right.
deal with that situation.
Right.
And actually, I thought it was more than that at one point, and it may have been
Okay, so,
more than that.
I mean, everybody's gonna have to help out. I mean, we're all in this together, people. We gotta cut it. So, would you want-
Round it off 2%.
do you want to do percent, or do you want to just not do it at all?
Well, I think we should do something.
think we
Cost
should
of
do
living,
something.
cost of living does increase.
Didn't you say 4% would increase our revenue? How much?
Our cost, 21,000.
I'm only in the water fund. Your general fund for 4% is $113,400. So if you do half or 2%, you're like what, 55,000.
So why don't we do 10% for the water and sewer, and then do a 2% for COLA, cost of living allowance? Is that okay?
Plus the 2 with at
And then
12%.
12% for the two, yeah. Is that okay, guys? 'Cause we need to do this.
I could live with that.
Is that okay?
Is that okay?
2%, 10%.
Oh, hey, I don't have to be a majority vote.
Give us some feedback.
Well, I mean, I
think
don't,
the
you know,
change needs to be passed?
I'm looking at things different. I mean, y'all breaking it down to water fund, sewer fund, the park fund. You know, at the end of the day, it's all, you put, it's in one bucket the way I look at it. I mean,
Well,
I'm sorry.
Not really. 'cause
Well, I understand, but
some of the
you take away some equipment and stuff, that comes to what, 130,000.
Yeah.
You know, if we keep pushing off raises and giving people cost of living raise, now I'm 100% with Alan on that. I talked to him several times about it, but we're just going to keep getting in the hole deeper and deeper. 5 years from now, we're going to be back where we're going to have to give people 10 and 12% raises. If you take away 130,000 here and it don't cost us but 113 to give them 4% cost of living, we're 17,000 to the good. I know it might not come out of a certain fund, but to me, numbers are numbers.
But the thing is, we have to focus on the budget for this year. And I think if we do a 2% across the board, and then the other two are taken care of with the 12%, and then the 10% for the water and sewer, I think we're okay. I mean, am I wrong, or do you all want to go, I mean,
What about 3% as a compromise?
Okay, and then here's, I'm going to add to what you just said. What if we did the 3%, but do it the way we have done it, I believe, in the past 2 years?
6
We
months?
do 6-month increments. We do 1.5% to take us to January 1, and the other 1.5 would come in January 1. So by the end of the year, we have increased by 3%, but we did it in stages.
Yeah. It doesn't cost you.
It doesn't, rather than dumping it all right
All
at the
on one
top.
time, yeah. What do y'all
So
think?
there's a thought. I would say
1.5 for 6 months, and then
another,
start in January.
So
or
a total of 3.
6 months.
So we'll do 3, and then half in one and half in the other. And Junior, are you still okay with the 10% for water and sewer?
Not really. But
Okay.
again, it's the majority vote.
Well, then tell us, because I want everybody's input on this. I mean, we all need to come and discuss this because, I mean, we all represent our different wards. And if your ward has other questions or they've gone to you and everything, this is your time to ask. Is 10% not good?
Well, I look at things different, and you know, anybody that's been around me up here at these boards and all the employees sitting back there, they'll tell you that I'm all for looking after the people. Mm-hmm. And I think that they should deserve a raise on one hand, and on the other hand, when I ask for something and I don't get it, and when I come into town today, I see something that I shouldn't be seeing, then they're not doing their job. Then it makes me want to second guess it.
Right.
You know, I mean, we keep giving and giving and giving, and the quality of stuff we're getting is not the same. It's not right. Mm-hmm. You know, where does that stop at? You know, so I still don't know. We don't know sitting here how much money we're making off the water and sewer as we stand here today. And we're just picking a 10% number there. He doesn't know. He just sat there and told us he didn't know.
You won't know until
The end of the year with the audit.
once
Yeah,
the
audit,
audit
yeah.
is.
It could be we don't have to go up a 7% or 8% or 9%.
I think, Junior, let me punch back in here. I understand part of what they are doing here. It's just like your water bill, like I'm assuming mine does, can fluctuate from month to month. I live alone, but I do occasionally go over depending on what I've done over what that minimum amount is.
Right.
And we're calculating off of what we have gotten in the past, what we expect to get. And it is an unknown number in that water sewer area because people may wind up spending more. What I'm looking at is, can we making sure we've got the money to pay the county agreed, and we have to have that. I have better English than that.
Right.
We have to have that to pay what the county is charging us, and it is frustrating when you go, well, look, can we not cut this to help make the difference? Well, no, because that money is not part of that fund. And that has been something I've learned very frustrating since I've been up here over these years. You get ideas and you find a way to do without something else to help out somebody else, but you can't do that because the money is not budgeted that way and it's not going into funds that way to pay them.
Richard,
Junior,
what is
one
the
thing
lowest?
I'd recommend to you, at the end of June 30th, and you get your water audit. Say you took in $400,000 extra, and instead of borrowing $4.4 million, use that $400,000 and borrow $4 million. Use that to
Right.
set your future debt.
And
You don't borrow that money and take it out of your cash balance.
Let me ask you a question. If we do 6 months, for instance, at 2%, and then 6 months at 4%, wouldn't that balance out at 3% for the year?
On raises,
what are
then you're giving 6%.
Does that make sense, Hans? What am I talking about? If we do 2% through January and then change it to 4% in January for the rest of the year, that would be an increase of 3%.
No, that'd be 5%.
2 and 4, yeah.
Okay, I thought we were talking about water and sewer.
You jumped to another thing.
I jumped. That's
So-
sorry.
You lost me altogether.
Yeah,
He's saying start where y'all want to do 2 and 2, or 1.5, 1.5. Start with 2, and then in January or February bump it up to 4,
Which would average out to 3.
which would average out to 3.
And keep in
Yeah, but you
mind,
spend the same
moving
amount of money.
forward, from that day forward, your salary.
Which is less than
cost has
4.
gone up
But-
4%.
You spent the same amount of money. Just
Then-
as a matter of
then-
how you spent it.
Then what? 4%. We'd be talking 3% instead of 4%. But it would be
So all you're doing is shaving cost during this current fiscal year. But if you did 2% now and 2% at the first of the year, going forward, your salary costs have just gone up 4%.
for the second half of the year, which is not.
As a
4%
total in whole.
forward permanently.
Oh, okay.
If you're gonna split it, do 1.5, 1.5.
Okay. I yield.
But then
okay.
let's get back to the water then again.
Okay.
Okay, because that was where I was
I
trying
yield
to
again.
clear up again. Is there anything that, we're not setting, we're, as we said, this is a budget, what we're trying to do here. And we don't know what things are going to be. Is there any reason then that you couldn't look at this water and start it at 6.25 and 6 months from now reanalyze? Are you meeting expectations? Are you paying the bills? And this is just a budget. It's not set in stone that it can't change. We'll do the same thing to this water bill and put it only back down to 6.25. Reevaluate it in 6 months and look at it and say, well, we're like this short, or see how it's doing. Maybe we made more than we thought we did. Maybe I don't know what that would have been, where that money would have come from, but get 6 months into it and see where you stand.
Because we do budget amendments all the time.
Yeah.
That's why I was trying to see how low we can go.
If the deficit is 123,000, then you'd have a deficit of 60,000 for the first 6 months.
And no disrespect, but as you were saying a while ago, at the end of the year, say we made $400,000, we could use that to cut down our ARP balance, right?
You know, I
Funds.
would use that to
Trim it down so we don't have to borrow so much money. Well, that don't help Mary Jo Smith out there that can't hardly afford to buy groceries. That doing what we're talking about helps because now she don't have to pay so much water bill every month.
Yeah, but your debt service that you're gonna pay for 40 years, and you know, has dropped.
I understand
So that savings works its way
I
through
understand that.
the budget, so you're not
It
having that.
doesn't hurt the customer that is barely getting by.
Right.
I think that's what we're all here to try to help.
And I think with that, we learn to know that certainly that everything, the water bill is not going to stay the same for the next year to year to year. The cost is going to go up every year, and we're having to find how little can we make that.
How about if you make it the 6.25 and your shortfall you budget from fund balance, which would be about $60,000. And December, when you look at it again, you may not need any of that fund balance. You
Right.
say, well, let's take that back out because we've raised enough money now. We don't need that.
I like that.
So why don't we just
But I
do,
gotta have enough to make it balanced.
Yes, right.
so why don't we just do 6.25% starting
And review it.
and review it in December? Okay? So, once again, 6.25 water and sewer, 3% for COLA,
I would be in favor of
1.5 for the
now.
first 6 months, and then 1.5 for the second.
Yes.
Okay, we're going somewhere. All right. Can we move on? Okay.
Okay.
Are we okay with that?
What other concerns are there?
The savings on the salary, we're just gonna put that in the board's contingency account. Basically, that $98,000 would be moved into contingency, and it can't be moved out without board approval.
So what do you need? You need for us to,
My suggestion,
With
if you're
calculations now have reduced.
satisfied, just adopt the budget as amended this evening.
okay.
So what did we decide about the
We'll fix all the
equipment?
numbers.
So I say there are a few other items that we need to finish discussing
We need to
out
finish
and
discussion, yeah.
understand, because those are all part of anything else there that we have with that. And not that I'm happy about making this statement, but I feel like I need to make it only because we are taking no pay increase.
Yep.
We all agreed that there was no reason for us to take a pay increase. So I do want to point that out as we sat here and argued pay increases for everybody else.
Thank you.
But that's not why I don't think anybody else
None
up
of
here
us
either
do
is
this
sitting
for
here
the
doing
pay.
this job. But anyway,
Not
moving
like we
on
make
to
a
your
lot
other
anyway.
topics. But standardly across the board, the commissioners and the mayor got the same raises that everybody else was being given. And we up front said no. There was no reason for that.
So is there anything else that y'all want to look at?
Anything else?
My concern was the water and sewer and the COLA. And I think we've adjusted what we need to adjust to be able to balance the budget.
The only other item I mentioned, and I think a couple of y'all mentioned this, I had $2,500 in there for the chamber. And we don't pay dues to the chamber. When I found out that during the holidays, we are listed as a major sponsor. And that cost is about $2,500. So we don't make an actual contribution, but we do pay to be
Services.
a
Yes.
major
Right.
sponsor
Police protection
of
and
those two events.
Right.
So what do you need from us?
I
on
think
that?
for
Just
you, you
nothing?
were just doing clarification. Should
yeah.
anyone be questioning,
Clarification.
are we
Yeah.
supporting any other outside civic
that's
organizations
fine.
or charities? We are not. Well, that is in contribution to what we are providing.
Okay. Going down this list here, are we still going forward with the 300,000 for the farmer's market?
I thought we put that on hold.
I think you can leave it in there and you can make that decision later.
Yeah,
Okay.
just leave it in the budget.
Because, and as you said, I agree with you totally. It's never going to cost that kind of money
Yeah,
to
no.
do. I don't want people thinking that we're building the Taj Mahals of farmers markets. That
Right.
was not the plan of this at all.
probably
And it's a multifunctional.
Right.
We shouldn't even be calling it a farmers market. It will
Right.
be a multifunctional facility.
Facility, yep.
Which will be used by the farmers market on weekends.
That's right. So it will be used for
I
other
would
things.
hope if you build it, your new community development person should keep it full. Mm-hmm. I mean, they need to work very diligently.
I know,
To make sure there's constant events in there.
right.
The other thing that I see, Mr. Manager and Mr. Mayor and fellow board members, is there's one thing that's not on here I do want to address. But going down the list here, the $4,000 for extra additional fuel costs. As a result of the code enforcement driving truck home, I think we can eliminate that. We got to get the Jimmy stuff. And then there's also, I think, $4,000, Hans, that you signed up for a class that we talked about in the meeting. Is that necessary? If not, we can save $4,000 there. Well, that's a board decision, but I just think until things improve,
So 4,000 for the truck, 4,000 for the class behind.
well, I'd just like for him to explain that class to everybody.
Is that a certification?
It's an annual School of Government class that is designed for managers and department heads. And they spend several weeks in class and they get a broad overview of all local government, county, city, what each of the individual departments do. Most towns over time, they want to send all of their department heads to it because it gives them a broader scope of what's involved, not necessarily, they're one little department, but they learn about everything, local government finance, budgeting,
Going there to get information, bring back to actually help us save money, correct?
You would hope that
Yeah.
the person comes back as a
That
better
is,
leader and
Yeah,
a
me
better
too.
department
That's
head.
a tool that we.
Well, it actually also, I think, would qualify him to be as a backup town manager if necessary.
If they ever leave, I mean, he has been exposed to a lot more of the broader
Yep.
picture
And we need
that you
to
don't
back
get,
Right.
as a finance officer.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for explaining these details.
Okay.
And I think ultimately all your department heads ought to go.
Yeah.
When was the last time, does anybody know, that we sent anyone?
Well, the pandemic kind of got in the way.
Yeah.
Well, I
We
know,
haven't even been to conferences.
Well, true.
I
we-
know that this had been in there a couple of times, and I think Jerry had always kicked it out or asked you not to do it, right, Hans? So that's the reason I brought it up.
Okay.
Well,
Derek, the South Playground, is that the one up at the front? Yeah. That's been there forever?
It's about 16 years old.
Yeah.
Cracks in the slide board. Now since we got the new one in the middle part of the park, we have like 80 to 90% usage on that one compared to 10 to 20% usage on the old one now, because they all flock to the new one. And the old one is designed for smaller kids. The newer one is designed for bigger kids. So we need to get the old one up to date so the little kids can get back on that one again.
Well, I look at this number and it's high, but I'm also remembering mine and your conversation and then the conversation that you had with us up here with your, how you want to say it, with you initiating cost to rent this, rent that, it'll kind of offset things in a way, right? I mean, you want, like for people, for example, if someone wants to rent the picnic tables or, I mean, it offsets some of this.
And the playground, the playground installations are expensive. It's kind of like what Richard said about the water tanks. There's not many companies that do playground installations, so you're kind of at their mercy of how busy they are. How, and right now with all the development that's going on, and municipalities are building playgrounds, so we're at their mercy. And it is I think about $12,000 cheaper than the one we did last year.
Well,
Smaller too.
I was going to say it. I would hope it is because I'm assuming it's got to be smaller to fit in that area.
I can't vote against little kids.
No, I can't either. I'm just,
No, and the question was, and I guess my question for you would be, and obviously you put it there, so you did. Is it one of the most important things that you think needs to be done and you would spend money on down there?
Yes, absolutely.
Because to me, the average viewer, there doesn't look like there's anything wrong with it, and you know what I mean. So I'm asking as a person who doesn't play on it or doesn't use it. It looks just like the other playground, except not in modern colors and pretty. So I'm asking you, is that how you would choose?
Yeah, and there are some features that have been broken or we have removed because they've broken on there, so it does need to be upgraded. And yes, that is really, Alan, everything in that park now is pretty much been renovated or upgraded. That's the last thing that's not been done in the past 10 to 15 years.
And didn't I see something on your budget though? Your request? Did we wind up doing? Were you not looking to replace some of the exercise equipment on the walking trails?
Installed at the same time that playground was installed.
So that has been done already. No.
That's part of the.
Okay, part of the renovation process.
I would say that is
Two.
priority number 2. I think the little kids are more of a priority than exercise equipment, but
Okay.
I think we definitely need to do something with that.
Okay.
I just want to be known, you have come up with additional ways to generate.
Yes, yes.
Those exercise stations, half of them are broke. They don't have
I-
the signs
I-
anymore with the
I've been told that.
pieces
Yes.
missing, so.
Yep.
I would just say, keep in mind, these pieces of equipment you're talking about buying and going last year, 20 to 25 years. And the fact that, that you can pay for them up front, you're not carrying interest costs. It's an investment.
Now, what are we
It's
going to do
gonna
with the
last
old
you
equipment?
A long, long time. The dump truck and the mower and the trailer. Is that what you're referring to, Junior?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's going to happen with the old equipment?
We'll sell it.
Will you be keeping any of that in the plans, Jimmy? Will you keep the trailer that you have and as a second trailer usage, or?
We're looking at purchasing the second trailer. We've got enough staff that if we had 2 water leaks. So right now, if we've got 2 water leaks, we send a staff, he's got to run across town, we'll have a trailer. So we'll have 2 equipment trailers, so we do have those instances where we're separated, we can basically have those staff. And then, as far as the equipment, everything, the 97 International truck, one thing we've kind of been having discussions with staff is possibly using that truck to pull our asphalt trailer with that. Right now, we pull it with the 2500 truck, and it's a little bit much for the truck. So that will be used for it. We can throw all the asphalt equipment, rakes and everything in the back of that truck, lower the side rails down. That's a possibility. That's something we had discussed internally. And with the tractor, which is 20 years old, we still maintain the spray fields out there. So we may just hook the sprayer to that, and so that way we can utilize it. Or if we had to go to our outfall lines and pull equipment through, we had a 4-wheel drive tractor. So, plus, we did use that tractor for plowing snow when it does snow. So. I'm old school. I like to keep everything forever because I know one day I will need it. So that's kind of reason. That's kind of our long-term goals for those.
And see, I'm old school. When you buy one, you get rid of the other one. Because if you don't, then all of a sudden, 5 years,
spending money on the old one.
Want to replace that truck again.
Well, I understand trailers are not going to bring much money to begin with, but having a second one is always of an advantage there. You just hinted at something, though, that I hadn't thought about. Yes, do we rarely get snow here in Angier? We do. But when we need it or we have an emergency, sending 2 out's better than 1. So I'm hearing different things there. And I agree. Anything that's got you told me it's built in 1997. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's time to replace it. But
For years and years, I told people in Farmville that our snow policy could be summed up in 3 words. Guess what it was? I said, it will melt. And it usually did, so.
Jimmy, so you're talking, how much money you talking, 50? I mean, how much money altogether is everything? I
They
see
work.
that. You know,
Your tractor and mower would be $150,000. And your dump truck would be about 120.
How much is the one, what is the 150?
we think
The tractor
think we-
and mowers.
the rate we're growing. As long as we got the employees to run them.
Truck,
Yeah.
trailer.
You're not talking about little mowers now. You're talking about a big tractor and big mowing machines behind it.
With that mower, we cut the ponds at the park.
345,000.
Is there any
It's about 280.
equipment that is one that we can make sure that you really do not need this year? You had to cut something off. What would it be?
I would say, I'd leave the tractor off, even though I was taking some of that money out of power bill. So we can possibly get by with the tractor. The truck, obviously, it broke down.
Right. Definitely that one.
I would say the dump truck would be.
And the trailer. Everybody's gonna have to cut something off.
Well, there again, it can be something that can be reinvestigated
Right, right.
at this moment.
Okay, so let's look at this part.
Well, I mean, it's basically balanced as it is, right?
Cutting, or are you
Okay, so you're giving me all.
evaluating
You're
the
the one
need?
calculating all the other dump trucks and everything. We were kind of okay with it. The third was coming out of different funds.
I think we were okay with our original discussion.
I mean,
Leave the tractor in.
Okay, a third of the stuff like the power bill or the power bill fund, that would be for the mower, okay? The water department, a third of that would be for the international dump truck. The sewer, that would be able to replace the dump truck too.
Yeah, because it's a third and a
But
third.
it's a third,
Yeah,
yeah.
split
Yeah,
between
so
all
it's
the
split.
funds.
I'm reading every line here. Jimmy, it says you have tractor and mower maintenance issues. When you say you have maintenance issues, obviously that takes away, you don't have stuff to work with. People will be complaining, right? What kind of issues are you having with that, or money-wise? I mean, there's a lot of money we're spending on maintenance for this tractor and mower.
Well, if you look at the picture, you can see the old photos underneath the tractor, so we just spent, probably about $3,000-4,000 on the tractor. And what I did is I looked at possibly trying to buy mowers, just it and get by with the tractor. But when we looked at that, since the mowers are over 20 years old,
Yeah.
that you couldn't replace that.
They're not compatible with the new.
Try to retrofit and maybe just buy mowers and save some money, but because of the age of the tractor, that wasn't a possibility.
Is this kind of like the wireless water meters? You're saving time on labor and because you're mowing larger swaths in a shorter amount of time.
I mean, when you go to get it, it works.
This leak, oil leaks, that come from hydraulic lines or tractor?
Ooh.
They leave it alone.
Stop leaking it.
I feel like we're balanced, and we got a little extra. We can always come back at mid-year and look at things and see where we are.
Yeah, everything.
It's except for the water and sewer and the no board increase and the salary increase for the.
So I think they would like we did, the 10% and then the 1.5, 6 months and the 1.5, everything else. Are y'all good on it?
You don't mean 10%. You mean 6.25.
Or
Now,
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, 6.25.
and you'll look at it again in
Yeah.
January.
I do want to bring up one thing, and I initiated it, and I'd like to get everybody's opinion on it. I know our police officers drive their cars home, but they get called at any time to come to work for whatever reasons. I did bring up the $4,000 from Shannon, basically. Is everybody in agreement with that, or is that something, how's that going to affect his attitude at work, or is that something he depends on, or?
I mean, it's a benefit that he is currently enjoying. He will have to adjust his, time coming to work.
He does work Saturdays, right?
I don't know that.
Well, I think he's supposed to be working one Saturday a month.
Something was split up, so we got him here to show some supervision into the things that were going on weekends, unbeknownst to.
Does everybody want to leave that alone, or how do you feel about
I
that?
think we're okay.
Well, I'll tell you, we've all agreed it shouldn't have been done, and it was done in the wrong way. And it wasn't done by us. It was something that was given to him that shouldn't have been given to him through past people. And I'm putting myself in the shoes of, you gave me something a year ago, and now you're going to take it away from me. That's like, well, I gave you a raise of 12%, but I'm going to now knock it down to 8%. We're going to stop giving you the 12%.
So we just don't do it again? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it shouldn't be done again. It shouldn't have happened, but that should not take place again. And I personally would have problems with you pulling it away from me if you'd given me something, unless you've had some problems with my work and I wasn't performing or doing what you wanted me to do. But I think it's unfortunate, a piece that needs to maybe be left alone at this time.
And keep in mind, the $4,000 is his gas to get back and forth, but it's also covers all his gas when he's riding around town doing inspections and checking on.
So
Oh,
it's-
okay.
it's
All going
less
home,
than a
but-
couple
Oh,
of
okay,
dollars to bring it
okay.
home because he
Yeah.
doesn't live that
Right,
far out
but
of town. So
I got you.
I'd leave it
The
alone.
drive to
I
Dallas.
say we just leave it alone for
Yeah,
right now.
Yeah.
that's yeah.
All right. So where we stand is we've got 2 employees that need to get 12%.
Yep.
We're going to do 1.5 for 6 months and then 1.5 for the additional 6 months on salaries. It's set for the board.
Yep.
And we're going 6.25 on water and sewer.
Yes,
Is that a good summary?
And reevaluate it in December.
yep,
Right.
Yes.
in 6 months, yep.
Is that a good summary?
I think so.
I think so.
Is there a motion
I make a motion that we go ahead and approve the budget as
with
amended
these
with all the amendments.
4 things?
Yep.
Okay. Is there further discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Against? Okay, it's 3-1.
I think it's 4 to,
Yeah, I vote.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
it was unanimous.
4-0. All right. Thank you. That's always a tricky thing every year to go through the budget. But thank you for your efforts Thank you for your attention.
It is probably the most difficult
It
thing
is.
I have experienced for us for the year. And there again, as we said, these are budgets and guidelines. You can always go back and reevaluate. You're not stuck to
Right.
it is worth saying, well, it may have been there, but things have changed. Economy has changed.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I do want to say one thing, if you don't mind.
Okay.
We do not manage employees. That's your job, and that will be Elizabeth's job when she comes in. But we do take a lot of phone calls from the citizens with complaints. And there is, I was skeptical tonight, and I voiced my opinion on a bunch of stuff, but there is some improvement that's got to be made here in certain departments. So they just need to know that, and we'll look at it going down the road. But I just want to say that.
Okay. Item number 2. Approval of request for qualifications for the construction of the Anger Police Department.
Okay, you have purchased the land. At your last meeting, you approved the standards for moving forward on a design build project. This next step is the actual request for qualifications. If you approve that this evening, we'll send those out to the contractors. We have to publicly notice it, so you may end up with a bunch of contractors. They will be evaluated and graded, and a final recommendation of probably 2 contractors would be brought back to the board. And once those 2 are brought, y'all pick one, you negotiate a final price, and you move forward. So, and I think we've got it set up. We try to give enough time, but for the contractors to get their information together. And if I can find it on here, I think we've scheduled it like the final presentation to the board to be like in August or September, somewhere in that time frame, because you do have to give them time. You had to give staff time to evaluate the proposals. But if you do want to move forward on the design build method, we'll put that out on the streets and see if we can get you a couple of good contractors in here to review.
And that's just for the police department.
Yep.
Can I make a motion?
Yes.
I make a motion that with the request for qualifications for the construction, is that what you're asking for?
Yes.
For the Anger Police Department building and with a design build delivery method, with that we approve that application for the USDA rural development.
Okay. Is there discussion on that motion? And this is pretty standard RFQ.
Yes, sir. I stole it from somebody else. So.
Not good for our police
The
department.
good thing about local government, there is no plagiarism laws.
Statute, yes. Okay. All right. Any further discussion on that?
Nope.
If not, all in favor, raise your right hand. And it's unanimous. Okay. Thank you, sir. Number 3, the appointment of the planning director as Wake County Review Officer.
You just got here and you're asking for another job?
I'm asking for
In the
Wow.
world.
I know.
Wear too many hats?
No, this is a way for me to sign off on, not only as the subdivision administrator for the town, but as the plat review officer for Wake County. There will be another resolution for Harnett County. It's that last step, that last person who reviews the plat to make sure it meets all the statutory requirements and it can be recorded. Right now, without my ability to sign off, it has to go to another person in Wake County for them to be the review officer, and then it can be recorded. So this step will actually help our developers and our citizens who want to subdivide property.
So Wake is okay with this?
Wake is okay. I've been coordinating with their planning folks there, and
they're going to take this resolution to their board, and their board will appoint me as a review officer.
So you just need a motion for it to be, I make the motion that we appoint the planning board director for the new Wake County review officer position.
Okay, yeah. Any discussion on this motion?
Mr. Mayor, there's nothing to do with this vote, but I want to say this about Mr. Jones. I've had the opportunity to work with him and talk with him on a couple of issues that has come up recently, and I can tell you that I can understand the success you've had in other municipalities because of how honest and straightforward you are, and you're a great asset to this town.
So you're saying, like our other employees, we're blessed to have Mr. Jones. Okay.
We got lucky.
Okay. All right. All in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Okay, it's unanimous. All right. The number 4, the final fiscal amendment for this fiscal year. Any question of Hans? Questions for Hans?
And what we did here, we took one final look just to make sure we don't have any departments that are line items that are out of balance, kind of a cautionary method to make sure we're good by June 30th, because once you leave tonight, we can't make any more adjustments to the budget. So we're just trying to make sure we're in compliance. We do this every year. Unfortunately, you kind of get it at the last minute because we're looking at it at the last minute.
It's kind of a catch-all end of the year thing, and those changes don't appear to be that large. Any motion on budget amendment number 9?
I make a motion that we go ahead and approve budget amendment number 9.
All right, discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to say that on Hans' behalf, he's doing all right.
He's doing all right, too. Okay.
We're going to keep
right.
you.
He's a pretty good fellow when he's asleep.
Yeah.
We
All right.
appreciate all that y'all done to get this budget where it's at.
Right on. Any further discussion on this motion? If not, all in favor, raise your right hand to approve budget amendment number 9. And it's unanimous, okay? Well, board, I agree with that. Thank you so much for the time you spent with the town manager reviewing this budget, making proposals, and listening and discussing. And y'all, as my 9th grade English teacher used to say, y'all done good. I think she was kidding, but anyway, kidding the way she said it. But anyway, is there? That's all we have on the agenda. Is a motion to dismiss.
Can I put one thing out there before you do that? Or the one other mention I'd like, just because I know that there are people watching and listening, and I want to remind everybody, what is the date, Richard, again, that we will be holding a reception of welcome for the new town manager and a farewell to you for helping us out. But I want to make sure that people know about that and have it on the calendar.
It's Tuesday, July the 11th. From
Tuesday,
5
July
o'clock
11th.
Until 6:30.
5 until 6:30, and that's in the depot, correct?
In the depot, and then the board comes back here at 7 to kind of, to give your thoughts on what she ought to be working on as you move forward, sort of a planning session with her in her second week.
July 11th. You want to
She
stop by
starts on the 2nd, right?
Right.
Okay.
But it is a
Now,
welcome meeting for anybody
has-
that would like to come and say hello. And
Right. Madam
and
Clerk,
goodbye.
have we noticed that meeting at 7 p.m.? Okay. All right.
I mean, your July meeting is Wednesday, July the 5th.
Right.
I mean, because you moved it from the 4th since we're closed on that Tuesday.
Okay. Well, we will welcome her with open arms, and we will sadly say goodbye to you. All right. Anything else?
No.
If not, motion to dismiss?
Make a motion that we dismiss.
Okay. The motion to adjourn is made. All in favor, raise your right hand and wave goodbye.